Welcome to another edition of the Tom Greene Show. Week 7 is here in the NFL. I can't believe it. Oh, wait a second. We don't have any guests here. Well, we might as well get him in here. Let's welcome the Goonie Giraffe himself, Cole Martins, 57. Welcome back to the show. I guess you're now our official co-host on this thing.
Yes, I am. How are we doing?
I'm doing great. How are you today?
I'm doing great.
That's good. Plus, you see that empty seat right there? You might not be able to see it, but I think you will. Well, that seat will be filled by one of my co-workers, the Kragermeister himself, Long Island Ice Z, or now it's VV Fudge VV. I don't know what that means, but anyway, Zack Krager is on the show. Welcome to the show, Mr. Krager.
Thank you.
How are we doing today?
Oh, not bad.
That's good. I heard that yesterday you had to go in really early.
Yeah, that was terrible. They waxed the floors and everything was just torn apart. It was awful.
I had to close last night, and all the night crew had to do swept down from underneath all the aisles, and there was like 3 carts of reshop.
It's terrible.
That was something else. But anyway, enough work stories. Now let's get to the real story. The NFL. Last week I went 12-3, bringing my total to 63-29, which in ESPN Fantasy Pigskin Pick'em, 66th overall in the top 1.2% of all of ESPN.
Nice.
That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. So if you're not watching this show yet, you might want to consider starting watching right now. How do we do this week, Cole?
Last week I went 11-4, and my total for so far on this show is 19-10.
I guess he didn't pick all the rest of the games like he should have.
I just tried memorizing the ones I got here, so I couldn't remember any ones before that. So
Yeah, Cole was lazy. And
just love the game.
And the Kragermeister here is starting off fresh.
That's the plan.
I guess he's our guest analyst on the show today, kind of like college football today, or college game day with Lee Corso.
Yeah. doesn't say much, just stands there and hypes up the crowd.
Yeah. So, why don't we get started? Thursday night football, Arizona against Seattle.
Well, you have a Seattle team whose quarterback right now, Russell Wilson, who has been doing a pretty good job so far this year, and a defense has been very impressive, has led them to a 5-1 record so far. An Arizona team that is up and down at times, as last week we saw they were down as they played a San Francisco team who lit them up in the air. In this game, I have Seattle winning 27-13.
Krager, what's your thoughts?
I'm going to have to agree with what he said, and I know through the past couple of weeks when they've been doing NFL power rankings, Seattle has remained number 1 over Denver, and I know that's because they say that they're a lot more physical team, and that is true when you look at who they have on defense and who they have for running backs, and their quarterback's also quite aggressive. I'd like to say maybe 21-13, but Seattle will definitely take that game.
I will also have to agree with these two. Seattle, even though they're on the road, they're playing an Arizona team that, even though Bruce Arians is their head coach, they're still weak, just like any other year, almost.
Yeah.
Except for Super Bowl 43. Seattle has, of course, Russell Wilson, who's almost like Doug Flutie, small, or shorter, can throw the ball. You got beast mode, you got one of the best defenses in the NFL. Seattle wins this game 27-14, I'd say. Let's go to the Sunday games. We got Atlanta against Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay, right now, kind of in a rebuilding stage, I believe, as they're still in the search for their first win of the year, as their starting quarterback, I can't even name who their starting quarterback is anymore.
Mike Glennon.
Mike Glennon now? Okay, well, I didn't know that. Then you got an Atlanta team who is also struggling this year with only 1 win, as Matt Ryan and the offense and defense trying to figure out what's going on right now. With missing Julio Jones now for the season, I believe.
Matty Ice is on ice.
Yeah.
So that should be a very interesting thing there. But I think Atlanta will get their second win of the year this year, right here, 24-10.
Okay, what about Krager's thoughts here?
I'd have to say pretty much the same as what he's saying. If Matt Ryan if he can go out and have a spectacular game and hit his targets, unlike what he's been able to do, and they can produce on offense, then there's no reason why they can't win that game.
Alrighty, I'm picking Atlanta as well because Tampa Bay is really in a world of hurt. We thought that they were going to be one of the best teams in the NFC. They're clearly not. Even Revis dislikes Greg Schiano. It's just a mess. The only really great thing about their team this year is that ship in the back of the end zone at Raymond James Stadium. But they're not playing there. And Atlanta will win this game regardless. 17-14. Well, we got Miami against Buffalo.
Buffalo as well right now, trying to get a little something going here now, missing EJ Manuel, and I believe that their backup quarterback, didn't he get hurt last week as well?
I think so.
So now they're down to their second practice quarterback here, I believe, which does not equal good for me. For
Didn't
Buffalo
they
right
sign
now.
Matt Flynn?
Not yet. They were talking about her as of
Okay.
last I checked. But then you have a Miami team who's been playing pretty good so far this year, now off 2 straight losses though. But in this game, I feel like Ryan Tannehill was going to have a big game in the air, and they're going to win this game 17-14.
Okay, Krager?
Miami, yeah, as he said, Miami started off really strong, and we all knew that the Saints was going to be that game that was going to decide whether or not their undefeated record was worth it. Right now, obviously, you're 2 losses down. You're obviously going to be struggling a little bit. It's really just what team decides that they want to bounce back and just not let the past few weeks get past them and just move on, try to finish strong for the rest of the season. But I'm going to have to pick Miami, and I'll say 17-13.
17-13. This one was a real toss-up because Miami, of course, is coming off 2 straight losses, and Buffalo, having lost Ryan Fitzpatrick, and of course they had a tool playing as their quarterback for a week. And now they might be signing Matt Flynn, but if it all depends on if Matt Flynn plays in this game. If Matt Flynn does get signed and he plays, I think Buffalo wins 28-24. If he does not get signed, Miami wins this game by the exact same score. So I'm leaving it up in the air, but I just have a feeling it depends on Matt Flynn. Washington, or should I say the Washington RG3 Skins against Chicago.
Chicago right now looking pretty good so far this season, as they are right now tied with the Lions for the first place in the NFC North. Still
Is this real life?
Yeah, it's been a while since that's happened before, but right now they are trying to stay strong, prove that they are a strong team in the NFC this year. As Jay Cutler and Brandon Marshall and the entire offense has been looking great so far this year. And then you have a Washington team still trying to find themselves a little bit in a very horrible NFC. Is it West?
NFC least.
East, that's the East, that's right.
Least or East.
And right now the entire division is struggling. They are still in the division hunt for that one. RG3 and that team right now trying to find something to do if they only have 1 win on the season so far as well. Right now, I believe Chicago is just too strong of a team. They're going to go into Washington winning 27-17.
Okay, Krager?
Right now, I love RG3. I think he's a good player. I think he is having a case of the sophomore slump.
Okay.
If he can get out of it and he can come out strong and play Chicago, I think it's honestly, when it comes down to Chicago and Washington, it's going to be a game of downs. And the first team that gives the turnover and gives up the lead is going to be the team that's going to end up losing. I would love to see Washington win, but I don't think they're going to. I'm going to say it's probably going to be 27-24 Chicago.
Okay. And I'm just going to say, Jay Cutler is my hero, said no one ever. It's true. Even though Chicago's, 4-2?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I just have a feeling that the last couple of seasons, Washington has started really sluggish and then come back to do something special. And I think this is the week that they come back and start to do something special. I think RG3 will start to come out of his slump, possibly. Although I still think that Shanahan should have either put him in week 4 of the preseason or not put him in at all. I think Washington wins this game 28-20. I think Pierre Garçon comes out of his funk and catches for 1 touchdown, which will win the game for Washington. And now our game, Detroit against Cincinnati.
Cincinnati, they're also been looking pretty good this year as Andy Dalton, AJ Greene, both looking good. Green Ellis having a great job on the offensive side. Defense
You
is
miss
looking,
Green Ellis, don't you, Cole?
Yeah, I don't know when he went either. I didn't think about him actually ever leaving, but it's fine.
You miss him.
A little bit. Anyways, so far that this Bengals team has proven that they are a tough team in this division right now. And then you have a Detroit team who is pretty surprising so far this year, have a 4-2 record, as right now Calvin Johnson having some struggles in practice so far this week, being limited. As I believe this Wednesday was the first time he's practiced before Thursday in about a year or 2. So he's trying to get himself better right now, and the running game with Reggie Bush and Stafford as a quarterback has helped the team a lot so far this year. But in the game of the Battle of the Cats, I'm going to have to go with the Bengals in this one, 24-20.
Interesting. Krager?
To follow up what he said, I think honestly when it comes down to the Lions offense, it's going to come down to the performance of Calvin Johnson and if his knee feels okay and he can perform at 100%. Obviously, do we want to forget about what happened at Lambeau with Green Bay? And that had to partially do with Calvin Johnson being out. But Cincinnati, they're a sleeper team. They really are. A lot of people are sleeping on them right now. They're on the rise. It'll probably, if not this season, the next season, they're going to shoot up. But it's a tough one, honestly. It's going to be a close game, that's for sure. I'm going to have to pick the Lions 24-20.
This one is going to be a tough game for both teams. But I think that second half that Detroit had against Cleveland is really going to give them some confidence. And with this game being at home against Cincinnati, I have a feeling the crowd will have a bit of something to do with it. Not so much as Arrowhead or CenturyLink Field, not nearly as much as that, but I do have a feeling that at 4-2, this crowd will get loud and they will help the Lions to win this game 21-17, and they will sweep the 2 Ohio teams as they deserve to do so.
Sorry.
Right.
We don't like Ohio here.
Exactly.
Sorry, Lions fans, I can't. I'm just going by gut.
Sorry, Ohio people. Sorry, Fox Sports Ohio girls, but we can't stand Ohio.
It's true.
And the battle of the NFC least, the Eagles, or possibly E-Girls, against the Cowboys, or maybe even the Cowgirls.
They play like that cheer line sometimes, I tell you what.
Well, so far, what I'm seeing, Dallas has been doing a great job the last 2 weeks. Is that even though they lost to the Broncos a couple weeks ago, but I think that game kind of gave Dallas a little bit of momentum coming out of that game, and they have looked good last week as well. This week, I'm expecting a good game from Romo, but the one thing for Dallas is that Marino is hurt, and that might hurt their running game and just make them focus on the pass, which is probably a good thing for Philadelphia, as they also are missing someone in Michael Vick, which could be a huge factor. But Nick Foles last week proved that he could play the quarterback job, as he threw for, I believe, 3 touchdowns in a game against Tampa Bay, who we know not to be that strong of a team. But I feel like in this one, I have Philadelphia winning at home 24-21.
Alrighty, Krager?
Obviously, I'm gonna have to go with Denver. You know, I'm probably one of the
This is Philadelphia and Dallas.
or Dallas or I don't nobody. I don't know. I don't really care for Tony Romo. I don't think anyone really does for that matter. But I mean,
except for his hot wife.
yeah. Des Bryant is a stud. He honestly is. If he can get the ball, then he's gonna make a play. The same with their tight ends. Philly, I don't know. They're okay. I mean, once again, they don't have Mike Vick, so who knows what's going to happen. They have a solid run game, obviously. Everyone knows their run game is ridiculous right now. If the kid has a lane, he's going to take it, and he's going to give you, if not a first down plus. But I'm going to have to say Dallas. I don't think it's going to be a very high-scoring game. I'm going to say 20-17 Dallas.
Okay. Well, with this game, one thing is for sure. DeMarcus Ware will be eating Philly cheesesteaks on the sideline for the first time in his career. I couldn't wait to say that. But I have a feeling that with the Eagles' high-power offense, with Chip Kelly, and I know that they're burning off a lot of Philly cheesesteaks there. And Dallas, although they had their experience with high-tempo offense with Denver and Peyton Manning, of course, he's Peyton Manning, what else? The momentum goes towards Dallas, but I still have my doubts about them. I thought they were going to lose to the Redskins, and they beat them. I'm going to have them losing one more time, and if they win this game, then I'll be convinced that Dallas is actually something. Because even we don't like Ohio, and I don't think we like the Cowboys either, do we?
No.
Okay.
No. Not at all.
But one thing's for sure. As DeMarcus Ware eats as many Philly cheesesteaks as he can possibly devour in 3 hours, Philadelphia wins this game 35-28. High scoring because I do think the Chip Kelly offense system will have a lot to do with it, just like in their first game against Washington, if we remember. So Philadelphia will be eating and burning off a lot of cheesesteaks as they win this game. Pretty fair to say. Carolina against St. Louis.
Well, you have a St. Louis team last week who I have no clue where they came from at all, as they just completely destroyed the Texans.
Give me credit.
I do give
me
you credit.
credit.
On that one. I did not think that was even possible, but it happened, and I was just shocked as Sam Bradford and that Pettis and the entire offense just destroyed the Houston defense, which I thought was going to be one of the best defenses in the league coming in the league this year. But then you have a Carolina team who also came off another great win last week as well, as Cam Newton finally, I believe, showed up for one of the first times this season of a 3-touchdown game in that one. This one, this is one of the toss-up game for me because both teams are on and off, I feel like, at times. But I'm going to go with Carolina in this one, 24-17.
Okay. Krager?
I love Cam Newton. Ever since Auburn, I've loved him. I'm going to have to say that they're both very, very shaky teams, as we've seen in the past 2 seasons. If St. Louis can get the ball moving, then they'll score. The same thing with Carolina. They just have to get the ball moving.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to have to say that Cam Newton is going to have another big 40-point fantasy game like he did a couple weeks ago, so don't sleep on him. I'm going to say they're going to win 32-17.
Okay. I picked Carolina to win this game because I think that game against Minnesota, even though with Adrian Peterson and what happened to him, they kind of down on what happened to him, but still, they did their business, and I think that gives them a little bit of confidence. And I do think they win this game because St. Louis just had a big game against Houston, and I do think they will have a hangover and contract, pun fully intended, Laurinaitis, and win. And then Carolina will win this game 31-20. You get my joke there, James Laurinaitis?
Yeah, I got it.
The Jets, who surprisingly have been doing all right.
You can't sleep on Geno Smith. I love him.
Against Cole's team. Why don't you take off your hat and show him that you look a little bit like Tom Brady there. There you go. He's got the hair.
Well, in this one, the Patriots, who I thought were actually going to lose last week, I'm not going to lie. I'm going to be with half those Gillette fans that left that stadium. I thought they were done.
Yeah.
Then my Lord and Savior, Tom Brady, somehow pulls magic out and drives him down the field and scores with 5 seconds left, which, that's why to me he is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. NFL people are not agreeing with me on that right now. He's up having a good year this year, but I think he's having an amazing year just for having rookie wide receivers as Tompkins and having Gronkowski and even having Amadilla get hurt again last week, and I believe he's going to be out again this week because from a concussion he took because he took a shot last week. Then had the Jets team who had a great game against Atlanta, then died last week again. Again, they're another up and down team, which you don't know how they're going to do week by week. It depends on how Geno Smith does. And he's got a lot of talent in him. But I believe he's going to need some help from his defense this week to make sure they can try to stay in this game. But I believe New England goes into New York and beats them 24-10.
Okay, Krager?
To add on to that comeback from Tom Brady, he did that because he's a Michigan man.
Yes.
Go Blue. But it's going to be an interesting game because Tom Brady has had a lot of struggles this season, losing pretty much his whole receiving core to injuries, other problems, trades, but obviously he's making it work with the record that they have. And
let's face it, you can't deal with a murder on the sideline.
yeah, exactly. And like he said, I believe that is why the New England Patriots record right now and what he is doing proves why he is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Because if that were to happen to any other team without a good quarterback like that, they probably would have a losing record. For sure. They probably wouldn't have a single win. Jets, I love Geno Smith. I think he's a stud. I can't wait to see him grow in the next couple of seasons. But like Cole said, they're a super streaky team. They can come out one game and Geno Smith just has a lights out game. Next week, he can throw for 175 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 picks. You never know what's going to happen. I'm going to have to say it might be a little bit of an upset. I'm going to say the Jets are going to win. I'm going to say 2017.
I'm a little surprised by that pick, but as Krager said, the Jets are a very streaky team. And have kind of surprised me even, because the last 2 seasons, JETS meant just end the season. But this year, maybe not so much. But in this game, JETS means just end this series, as the Patriots will win this game 27-17. Tom Brady, once again, will have a decent game, and Cole Martins will be a happy man when he comes onto the show next week.
I'm just hoping Gronkowski comes back here this week, too. That's
possibly wearing a suit made out of blanket cloth or something like that, like he wore last week.
Just throw him out there. That's all I want right now.
Tom Brady wore last week in his interview.
I missed that spike.
I know it. Someday Gronk will come back. Maybe he got scared of what I said last week. Jacksonville against San Diego.
Well, San Diego, again, they came off a shocking win on Monday night this week, beating Indianapolis, which really, that one surprised me as well, as I thought Indy was going to run them over. As, again, San Diego is another one of those teams that are streaky at times, but you don't know what they're going to do depending on how Phillip Rivers is and how the entire receiving team does. But then you have a Jacksonville team, which, they're just not that good this year, which I don't know how they were in that game against Denver last week. That speech they had before the game, they must have did something for them, because did something in Peyton's mind, too, because I don't know how they were down by 2 coming in the second quarter. I thought it was going to be a complete blowout, and they beat the Vegas bet. I believe they were under. Happy I didn't bet there, because I would have lost that one. But, again, I think San Diego was way too good of a team for Jacksonville, and San Diego was going to win this one 27-13.
Krager?
Jacksonville, they're in a hard spot right now because they're supposed to have Maurice Jones-Drew, who's supposed to be one of the top 5 running backs, and he's just not producing.
Nope.
Not at all. I think he has. I had him in my fantasy, but I dropped him. That goes to show you. I think he has.
He has terrible fantasy.
He has 2 touchdowns on the season, I think.
With last week.
Yeah. It's just not a producing team. I think San Diego is going to take it just because Phillip Rivers. A lot of people doubt him, but I think he's a good quarterback. He can make a play. I just think that he hasn't really had a big chance to shine anywhere. But I do think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I'm going to say 17-7 San Diego.
Okay. let's just face it, these guys wanted to say it, but I'll say it. Jacksonville sucks. San Diego is going to win this game 31-10, even though they have to travel to the East Coast for a 1 o'clock game. That it's irrelevant when they're facing Jacksonville. Let's face it. Tennessee against San Francisco.
Yeah, San Francisco team who's been waking up lately as their offense has been going very well with Kaepernick and Vernon Davis. I don't know where he came from last week at all. He came off his injury and he just went complete ham on that Arizona defense.
But he's still afraid to dunk the ball in the goalpost when he scores a touchdown.
Man, if you get 180 yards in the first half, let you do whatever you want. You
Yeah.
don't have to do anything.
Yeah,
I know he made fantasy people smile last week. As that team, and the defense though, I feel like is a little bit of struggles. As that Arizona offense did something that San Francisco defense. I don't know if it was because of the division game, maybe. But then you also have a Tennessee team who, again, it still kind of surprised me a little bit. Even though they came off a couple losses in the last couple weeks, they are playing pretty well for a team who's lost their starting quarterback. If Chris Johnson and Fitzpatrick can have a good game this week, I think it's going to be a close game because of that. If they do have a good game, and I still believe San Francisco is going to win this game 24-20.
Okay, Krager?
I think San Francisco is going to win. Kaepernick, I don't think should be their starter. I think Alex Smith should still be there, but that's beyond the point. They are producing. They had a rough couple of weeks in these past couple of weeks where people were downing Kaepernick. But, every quarterback has their up and down week. You're not going to go out there and throw for 350 yards, 3 touchdowns every week. It's what it is, Tennessee, I think everyone pretty much knows Tennessee is along the lines of Jacksonville. They're not a very strong team by any means necessary. I think San Francisco's going to take it. I'll give them 32-13.
I think Krager's missed too many games due to work. Tennessee is actually a sleeper. I've watched quite a bit of their film. They are a sleeper, and people are not realizing it. They held tough with Seattle. They beat Pittsburgh to start the season. They beat a couple of decent teams. I think they take this one 27-24. I just have a feeling that Kaepernick will throw an interception that will cost them this ball game. Rob Baronis, who's been in the league longer than I've lived probably, will kick a game-winning field goal, and they will win this game. I just have a feeling. Green Bay against Cleveland.
Well, you have Cleveland last week who played pretty well against the Lions with Whedon at quarterback, which kind of surprised me because I was expecting Whedon to struggle a little bit in that game. But he did a great job, and the running game still needs to get some work going because they have not been doing that much. In the last week, at least, they didn't do that much. And then you have a Green Bay team who has Aaron Rodgers, who was easily one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league. But now he's missing a big target in Cobb this week, who is out for 6 to 8 weeks, I believe, which could be a huge hit to the receiving core for the Packers. Still, I feel like Cleveland's going to get shocked into reality this week, as I think Green Bay's going to take a huge win at home, 31-10.
Krager?
Obviously, everybody knows as what happened against Detroit. Green Bay is they're no matter who they have, it's the same thing. Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady. No matter who they have, they're gonna if they find an open man, they're gonna get him the ball no matter what. And obviously, Aaron Rodgers shows that week by week. No matter who he's throwing it to, he's just gonna dominate and just run the field up and down. I'm gonna have to say Green Bay. I'm gonna have to give them 31-13.
I think Green Bay wins this one 20-13. Cleveland, their 3 wins in a row were ugly, and it showed last week against Detroit that it's a clean mess, I guess. A metaphor,
Contradiction, perhaps?
yes, an oxymoron. That's the word I'm looking for. A clean mess in Cleveland. Green Bay wins this game 20-13. Kansas City against Houston.
Well, you have Houston this week, which I don't know what happened to them last week. That still surprised me, that huge loss to St. Louis, that this supposed to be great top 5 defense allowed that much to happen to them. Now you have Matt Schaub hurt this week now, and you have, I believe they announced it today who their starting quarterback was.
Was it Yates?
No, it was not Yates. It was Cass. I think
It's Case Keenum.
Case Keenum. That's what it was. Yep. he will be starting for the Houston this week, and I have really not seen that much of him besides on my NCAA game, which he's my starting quarterback for my ultimate team. So I'm going to base it off that. But with him being his first start against a top, very good Kansas City defense who's been doing a great job so far this year in stopping offenses. Then you have Alex Smith as well, who also having a great season, and the entire offense is driving this team, and defense as well, driving this team forward. I'm expecting another blowout win here against Houston. It's going to be 34-13 Kansas City.
All right, Krager?
Obviously, this is going to be Casey Keenum's first start, period. Huge start against this Kansas City defense. I think it's going to be rough for him. He's not used to that kind of pressure. I think the defense is going to get in his head. I don't think he's going to do very well. I'm gonna have to say that Kansas City is gonna win it. I think it's gonna be a high scoring game. I think Texans defense has fallen off a little bit. I'm gonna say 28-13.
Let's face it, the Kool-Aid Man's doing a lot of good work in Kansas City, that's for sure. Arrowhead Stadium is now the loudest stadium in the NFL. They proved it last week. They're becoming the next Seattle, it looks like. Kansas City wins this game 31-20, and until Matt Schaub picks a different number than 6 to be his favorite, it's going to be a long season for Houston. Pittsburgh against Baltimore.
Well, Baltimore, I still feel like they're trying to figure some stuff out so far this year, as that team has been on a little bit of a struggle at points. I think they believe that they're at a 3-3 record right now.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Somewhere around that, and that is not where you expect a Super Bowl team to be after winning it. And right now, Joe Flacco trying to figure some stuff out on offense right now, and that defense trying to figure out a lot of holes on that side as well.
Bert, you gotta help me, Bert.
Then you have a Pittsburgh team who finally got their first win last week that they've been waiting for a while. And you got Ben Roethlisberger, that should get maybe some confidence into him as well. Then Damian Bell trying to get something going here, and the defense as well for Woodley and them to possibly get something going. And this is my upset of the week. I had Pittsburgh beating Baltimore 2017.
Krager?
Just to add on what he said, you don't expect this kind of record out of a team who just went and won the Super Bowl last season at all, by any means. Flacco is having a hard time. I picked him for my fantasy because of course, what happened last season. They went to the Super Bowl. You'd assume that they probably would have a very decent season, but they obviously lost a lot of people on both sides of the field, offense and defense, a lot of key players, whether it be to retirement or free agency. And obviously it shows they're struggling hard. Pittsburgh is also, obviously, they just got their first win. They're also struggling really bad. But I think they're getting some oil in the gears, and they're figuring out what they have to do to score. I'm going to say that Pittsburgh's going to win at 2017.
I think that win against the Jets is going to really help Pittsburgh figure something out, even though there's still tension between Todd Haley and the offense. You got Dick LeBeau on the sidelines, and even though I ran about him last week, I'm going to rant about him again. Dick LeBeau is the man. He's going to bring this team to get better, because Dick LeBeau is the man. Pittsburgh is going to win this game 17-14, just because Dick LeBeau is on the sidelines. And he'll be in. Even after he passes, he's still going to be on the sidelines. His image will still be on the sidelines.
That is true.
Sunday night game, Denver against the Lucky Colts. Although not so much last week.
I have been waiting for this game for a year and a half. I have been wanting Peyton Manning to head back into Indy. Just that crowd is going to be crazy for him. Even though he has a different jersey, and that crowd is going to still be in love with him. And for the Colts, that is just going to be heartbreaking to them that they're going to be rooting for the opposite team pretty much at the beginning of that game. As they're having like a 10-minute thing for Peyton Manning before they even announce the teams out, which I think is going to be huge for them. And Denver already just looking outstanding this season. A little bit of struggle last week against Jacksonville. But then you have Indy as well, who came off a little struggle last week. They really struggled against the San Diego team, who at times is a up and down team, like we said earlier. And in this one, I see Denver just walking in there and taking the win, 31-24.
Krager?
Obviously, Peyton Manning returning back to Indy for the first time since they kind of gave him the boot, is going to be a big thing. But even himself, through the Twitter that I was reading, their owner, when he was telling everyone that they were going to have I guess you could call it quote unquote ceremony for him coming back, he even said himself that Peyton told him that he doesn't blame him, that he wouldn't blame him for not passing up on Andrew Luck. Obviously he doesn't because of the production that they're having the past 2 seasons. But this is going to be a huge, huge game. It's going to come down to how well both offenses produce. Obviously, everyone, well, not everyone, but whoever, if you know me, you know that I absolutely love Peyton Manning. I think he's an amazing quarterback. Like the meme from NFL Meme said, if you leave Peyton Manning in the pocket, you're gonna have a bad time. And obviously, his offensive line does a very good job at giving him the time in the pocket to pass. I think when it comes to Indianapolis, they're gonna have a little bit of trouble because Ahmad Bradshaw's injured and he's out. I think if not for the rest of the season, he's out for a good duration of the season. But they also have Eddie Lacy's their backup, and he's
Weighs about as much as the 3 of us combined.
Yeah, he's a monster. Or Trent Richardson, isn't it?
Yeah, Trent Richardson.
Trent Richardson, Eddie Lacy's in
Green Bay.
Green Bay. Trent Richardson, he runs angry. Ahmad Bradshaw, they both run angry. That's what they
Richardson's about a Philly cheesesteak away from winning as much as the 3 of us.
From possibly being a defensive lineman. But it's gonna come down. It's gonna be a game. It's gonna be a big game of runs. And I think, I shouldn't say unfortunately. I believe Denver is just gonna have a higher runs. I do think it's gonna be a very, very has the potential to be a very high scoring game. But I'm gonna say Denver is gonna take it away. I'm gonna say it's gonna be 32-28.
I'm going to say 38-35 Denver. Last week's Indianapolis game had big implications on who I would pick in this game. And since they lost to San Diego and Luck threw a pick, I think Denver wins this game 38-35. I think Indy roots for Peyton Manning, and that's how it will go. Now, finally, Monday night game, Giants against Minnesota. Or should I say, the Midgets against all day.
Well, this is this week's toilet bowl as both teams together have 1 win. So someone in this game is going to have at least 2 wins put together here. So good for each one of them. And you got Minnesota, who was going through a quarterback change this week at their 3rd different quarterback in 3 weeks, as Mr. Josh Freeman coming back into the starting job here in Minnesota. After only being there for a week, he must have done a pretty good job learning that playbook. Adrian Peterson, I'm still questionable if he's going to be doing well after his son's death, which has been very horrible on him, and I feel terribly bad for what he's going through at this time. And then you have a New York team who's, I believe, 0-5 or 0-6. Yeah, they did play. I thought they had a bye last week, I was thinking, but yeah, they are having some sort of year this year as well, as Eli Manning and that offense and defense just having a horrible year. They've been close at times, and they just could not capitalize. But in this game, I see Victor Cruz having a pretty big game in this one. And I say Cruz and the Giants will be doing the salsa in the middle of the field with a victory here, 24-10.
Krager?
Yeah, just to follow up on that, obviously both teams aren't doing as well as you would have expected, especially with Minnesota getting the addition of Greg Jennings, but he's not producing as well as everyone would have hoped, obviously, from there. But the same thing goes for the Giants. When you have 2 easily top 10 receivers in Hakeem Nicks and Victor Cruz, you should not be 0-6. There's honestly no excuse for that when it comes down to it. As many picks as he's already thrown this season, there's no excuse for the record that they have right now. But I do see them getting the win. I'm going to also say it'll be 24-10.
Here's my pick. Knock knock.
Who's there?
Owen.
Owen who?
0-7! Minnesota will come back and get the win this week. I just don't think that the Giants are doing anything on both sides of the ball. And with the Eli Manning face, I think we both know that Eli Manning, somewhere in a parallel universe, is adopted. So, with that being said, and I've said a lot of off-the-wall things on this show, as I always do. Minnesota gets the win. AP will run on them all day, and they will win 21-17. Adrian Peterson, 2 rushing touchdowns, 150 yards. Calling it right now. Eli Manning, 2 picks, 1 of them returned for a touchdown. With that, that is our show for today. Thank you, Long Island IC, for coming on. And Cole, we will meet again next week.
Yes, sir.
We'll see ya.
Go Tigers.
Yeah, a big game tonight.